Hi, my name is Keela Koss, and today I'm going to be doing my rugby case study presentation. Rugby is a field-based team sport played with 15 players. It's played internationally at many levels from elite to amateur. It consists of two 40-minute periods divided with a 10-minute break. It elicits a variety of physiological responses due to repeated high-intensity sprints and a high frequency of contact. During the 80-minute game, the ball is in play for approximately 30 minutes, with the rest of the time made up of injury time, penalty shots, ball out of play, or conversions. As I mentioned, the game is played with 15 players aside, and that's unless someone is out due to a misconduct. Despite position, players must have a highly developed speed, agility, muscular strength, power, maximal aerobic power, etc., according to a 2008 study done by Gavitt, and that's in order to be competitive at elite levels. Injuries are inevitable in rugby due to the quick starts, stops, and changes of directions. However, I will explain to you that not only can proper training improve performance, but it can also decrease injury rates. In rugby, players are divided into fronts and backs. Individuals playing in forward positions are typically heavier, taller, and have a greater proportion of body fat. They are the ball winners. They demonstrate superior absolute aerobic and anaerobic power and muscular strength and spend a great deal of time involved in physical contact with opposition. Backs are typically slighter, leaner, and have a shorter stature, and they are the ball carriers. They spend more time in free running and cover great distances during a game. Halfbacks are one of the positions within the back title. They require a good level of endurance as they control possession of the ball obtained by forwards. Good speed is also an important attribute, as they need to accelerate away from approaching defenders. Halfbacks include the scrum halves and fly halves. According to Williams in a 2012 study, the scrum half is typically the smallest player on the team, but the best at long, quick, accurate passes. They are known to be quick thinkers, confident, and communicative. The fly half is often referred to as the pivot because the game revolves around them. They're typically the best kicker and tactician. They should be able to kick long, accurate kicks with both feet, as well as outmaneuver opponents with sidestep, jinks, and darts. Halfbacks aspiring to play in elite leagues must be skilled, have muscular and lean body composition, and conditioning exercises should be applied to develop areas such as speed, agility, and acceleration. In rugby, halfbacks require an extensive skill set to be successful. Priorities include the ability to read plays, think and react quickly, and basically set up the game. Physiological priorities for halfbacks specifically include possessing excellent aerobic capacity, or the ability of the energy systems to replenish quickly for bouts of energy and recovery, agility and speed. Research has also identified aerobic capacity, running speed, and agility as factors which differentiate proficiency levels of players within multi-sprint sports such as rugby. The metabolic demands of rugby does not rely on one system alone, but a combination of all three, just like any other sport or activity. You can see that it heavily relies on the ATP-CP system, which is with an approximate 60-30-10 split between ATP, CP, glycolysis, and aerobic, respectively. Because of the high-intensity start and stop nature of the game, it also primarily uses fast-twitch muscle fibers. Because of the high-intensity, high-contact nature of the game, injuries are common. Gavitt defined an injury as any pain or disability suffered by a player during a match that resulted in the player missing a subsequent game. Injuries are categorized by where in the body they occur, classified by the type of injury, and then the cause is determined. In rugby, backs sustain fewer injuries per 1,000 hours of play than forwards. Backs in particular injure themselves due to falling and stumbling more often than any other position, and according to Gavitt, these incidents are likely due to the quick starts, stops, and changes of direction. He concluded that these positions would benefit greatly from a program that incorporated agility training in order to improve their ability to, and I quote, affect rapid changes in direction while also reducing falling and stumbling injury rates. My particular client is a 28-year-old male police officer who plays rugby once a week and trains 2 additional times with his local team. He has 15 years of experience, including 3 years playing with Team Canada. He is a halfback, and in a competition with some of his friends to make an elite team in Wales, He is comparable height and weight to players in elite leagues, playing in back positions, as are his VO2 max, push-up, and sit-up repetition results. Physiological training priorities for John are his sprint speed and lactic power, agility, and lower body strength. These areas in particular need improving in order to progress him to a more competitive degree of player. That being said, his program will be fully comprehensive and also include training for the following aspects: stabilization, aerobic capacity, flexibility, muscular endurance, and strength. It is important to incorporate a plan that is balanced and includes all areas important to rugby. This will ensure he is in peak condition in all areas of fitness and has the highest potential for elite level performance. There's no benefit in sacrificing one component for another. The principles I've applied to designing John's program include individual difference, overload, progression, adaptation, use, disuse, and specificity. Individual difference refers to the fact that one size does not fit all, and their program must be tailored based on the specific client and his exercise response in reference to age, size, shape, injuries, gender, etc. The principle of overload states that a greater than normal stress or load on the body is required for training adaptations to take place. What this means is that the workload must increase accordingly to improve any area of fitness. Progression refers to an optimal level of overload being achieved. It is gradual and systematic. If applied too slowly, little progression will occur, but too quickly, an injury may result, so there must be an appropriate balance for adaptation to take place optimally. Adaptation is how the body adjusts to physical demands, whether increased or decreased. It's a way that we learn sport-specific skills and coordination of muscle movements. It increases efficiency and makes a task second nature. The use-disuse principle summed up is, if you don't use it, you lose it. It kind of explains hypertrophy and atrophy, which is why a comprehensive program is necessary for John. And finally, the principle of specificity states that to become better at a certain skill or task, exercise, etc., you must perform that exercise or skill. In order for John to improve in rugby, he must participate in drills, exercises, and game-based training sessions that will mimic and improve his gameplay. With all of this in mind, I've effectively planned a program which will meet John's needs. His 4-month mesocycle has been broken down into a number of microcycles, each with different purpose. The basic principles of periodization is a shift in emphasis from high volume, low intensity training to low volume, high intensity training. His 4 weeks will be muscular stabilization phase. This stage will help to build the client's endurance and stabilization while using speed, agility, quickness, plyometrics, and resistance training. It emphasizes core and joint stabilization, which is critical in rugby to aid in injury prevention. Doing so will improve John's capacity to produce maximal effort repeatedly with minimal recovery time. The training will also provide the neuromuscular foundation for efficient and proper movement patterns. To provide sport-specific training, the client will engage in exercises involving runs, throwing, and jumping. Progression through this phase will be made by increasing volume as his body adapts and tolerates more. Proprioceptive elements may be changed to increase difficulty as well as volume, intensity, and decrease rest periods. Muscular endurance program design would be as follows: 12 to 20 repetitions, 1 to 3 sets, 50 to 70% 1 rep max at a slow 4-2-1 tempo with a 0 to 90 second rest period. Strength training will help maximize the benefits of power training and is built on the foundation of stabilization, which prepares muscles, ligaments, and tendons for an increased load. It will improve the recruitment of motor neurons, rate of force production, and motor unit synchronization. To progress during this phase, the client and provide a more demanding routine, I'll increase the load and volume. Rest periods may be increased to accommodate this if needed. The phase will also include speed, agility, and quickness, plyometrics, and resistance training components. This phase will improve John's vertical jump through exercises such as the power clean. Exercises in the strength phase are typically designed as follows: 1 to 5 reps, 4 to 6 sets, 85 to 100% 1 rep max, with a fast, explosive tempo, yet controlled, of course, with a 3 to 5 minute rest to allow almost complete recovery. Power training focuses on using high velocity and force to increase power. This type of training will provide John with the explosiveness needed to intercept passes, avoid tackles, as well as produce long kicks and passes. This phase is broken down into power and strength. These are trained as pairs and used to increase his velocity at high intensities. Strength training is done at an intensity of 85 to 100% 1 rep max, 1 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 sets, is followed immediately by power component for the same muscle group at an intensity of 30 to 45% 1 rep max, 8 to 10 reps, and 3 to 5 reps. Sets, unless of course you're using medicine ball, and you can use an intensity of 10% of the body weight. The key to achieving optimal power output is using explosive yet controlled movements. Medicine ball throws forward and side, for example, will increase John's upper body strength and his ability to manhandle opponents if necessary. Exercises such as ballistic bench press can increase the amount he could lift on subsequent exercises, which would further increase his gains, according to a study done by West in 2013. Resisted sprints and sled pushes may also be used to increase power and be relevant to pushing through an opponent, where unresisted uphill sprints may be used to increase sprint time by decreasing velocity by no more than 10%, with resistance, which increases force. This will positively affect the force-velocity relationship for his hip extensors in particular, and enabling him to evade opponents and make plays. Unloading and recovery are key elements in any periodized plan. Unloading uses deliberate recovery or unloading phase in the mesocycle. It is a period of time where the training and practice volume is significantly reduced. It can prevent overtraining according to Hakkinen and should be planned for every 5 to 6 weeks so that a player can return to a more recovered and thus fitter state, according to Hennessy in 2012. A program with these phases will progressively and effectively John's improvement and reduce his rate of injury. An example of this program for the strength phase is seen here. It consists of a warm-up, which prepares the body for activity. He will do plyometric drills, which are reactive drills. They increase the excitability, sensitivity, and reactivity of the neuromuscular system and increase the rate of force production or power, motor unit recruitment, firing frequency, and motor unit synchronization. Basically, this type of training promotes generating maximal force in minimal time. Speed, agility, and quickness training is similar to plyometric training and will increase John's ability to accelerate, decelerate, and dynamically stabilize the entire body during high velocity acceleration and deceleration in all planes of motion, such as running, cutting, and changing direction. Resistance training, will increase size, bone density, neuromuscular control, strength, power, endurance, and decrease body fat. In the stabilization phase, I will ensure John is using proper form and posture performing exercises so that his body is able to stabilize and balance at his current level, and as he progresses, he will participate in total body, multi, and single joint exercises in controlled, unstable exercises such as those with exercise balls, as these will positively affect his muscle potential, force production, and the ability of his kinetic chain to stabilize, particularly through the lumbopelvic hip complex and joints, which will allow for movement of the arms and legs to work more efficiently, such as when kicking or making that long pass while running. Examples of exercises in this phase include ball chest pass, single leg cable rows, single leg squats. In the strength phase, the goal is to develop optimal strength. Exercises using total body and multi-joints have been proven to be most beneficial. Examples include shoulder press and leg press. And in the power phase, the goal is to develop functional movement patterns which are explosive and use plyometrics. The use of plyometrics is excellent for this. Squat jumps, tucks, barbell cleans, medicine ball chest pass, etc. are examples of exercises he could use at this point in training. VO2 max is considered to be the gold standard in aerobic fitness. It is increased during activity it's increased during activity and leads to comprehensive improvements in the cardiovascular system at rest and work. In order to benefit from these changes, training must be at least the VO2 threshold. John will perform a 3-kilometer time trial from which the data such as heart rate and interval times will be recorded in order to devise a plan that will be specific to him. He will participate in aerobic training 2 times a week with 2 sessions back to back. below pace as a warm-up for above pace, etc. And this is just basically to save time. Aerobic training in this manner allows a close watch on progression and can be easily tailored to continually meet John's fitness needs as they progress. Training aerobically through running versus elliptical or swimming, for example, will meet the specificity intended of the purpose. So he's running in his sport, not swimming. The goal is to increase VO2 max, which will improve his rugby game. This will be completed through interval training. This will also improve his performance and economy. Training below pace is not going to be included because his goal isn't necessarily to increase his distance. Target pace will improve lactate clearance and improve running economy. Variables will be training at a tempo of 110% race pace, approximately 2-minute intervals, 60 to 90 second rest periods over 2 to 3 kilometers. Above pace training will be utilized. This will improve leg strength, develop speed, coordination, as well as promote anaerobic metabolism. Pace is going to be at 120% race pace. This is very intense and requires a short 40 to 60 second interval. Longer recovery periods allow for energy stores to partially replenish. The rest period is approximately 2 minutes of active recovery to help clear lactic acid and prevent venous blood pooling. As he improves over the course of the program, intensity will increase. Another time trial could be run at 6 and 12 weeks where pace would be reevaluated and increased to provide enough stress. Anaerobic training will be specifically designed to improve John's alactic power, which is that necessary to sprint all out for 1 to 10 seconds. Primarily uses ATP as energy, and it's used to produce intense bouts of repeated It's used to produce intense bouts repeatedly and improve John's 10, 20, and 40 meter sprint times. He will participate in repetition sprint training, which will improve his maximum speed by recruiting more fast twitch muscle fibers more efficiently and improve his tolerance to lactic acid. Using John's 10, 20, and 40 meters interval sprints, our program is developed based on these variables: 85 to 100% race pace, 5 to 10 second intervals, 10 to 30 second rests, which are active, up to 5 reps, and 5 to 8 sets. This can be done 2 to 4 times per week. To continually stress John and meet his body's adapting changes, repetitions and sets may be added, intensity increased, and rest intervals decreased. Of course, his program will include a warm-up. This will prepare the body and mind for activity, warm up the joints, and increase blood flow. And it will also include a cool down period. This returns the body to a closer resting state, prevents venous blood pooling, and lowers the heart rate and blood pressure. So the exercises we're going to be demonstrating today are box drill, lateral shuffle, squat jump, and bounding. Squat jump with stabilization. The goal of this is to establish optimal landing mechanics, postural alignment, and reactive neuromuscular efficiency or coordination during dynamic movement. In plyometric stabilization exercises, there's little movement through the joints, and this will help to create strong foundation and also help in injury prevention. He can progress to squat jump without the stabilization from this. The box drill is a speed, agility, and quickness drill and has also proven to be effective in injury prevention during athletics. It can improve agility, quickness, speed, flexibility, change of direction, and body control. It's in the strength phase and allows greater horizontal speed with predictable patterns. A progression from this standard box drill is the modified box drill. This is a reactive and unpredictable drill which mimics gameplay in rugby, where both predictable and unpredictable situations present themselves involving the ball, teammates, and opponents. This will help in response time to stimuli and improve the client's SAQ performance. Bounding is the next exercise, and this is basically exaggerated running, and it would be in the power phase. This is excellent for explosiveness and to increase your stride length, which are both key factors in running faster. And then finally, the lateral shuffle, and this is working in the frontal plane, which is side to side. This increases lateral speed and it strengthens the legs and ankle complex, which is important to injury prevention as well. A progression in difficulty for this could be using the same setup but with high feet or having to step over an obstacle. This relates to gameplay where there may be a pileup of players and the individual has to maneuver around and through people. In conclusion, rugby is a multi-activity sport and involves brief high-intensity bouts interspersed with low to moderate periods of activity. To meet these demands, training should begin with matching the training to the actual movement and energy systems required during the game of rugby. The principle of specificity needs to be applied when designing any fitness training program. This will help the player to become better prepared for the demands of the game. And a periodized plan allows for all demands to be met in a structured manner. Thank you.